today we are going to study a new topic. The new topic is force. Okay students, observe the images carefully. What are the images? They are pulling a cart, pulling a rope, opening the door by pulling, pushing a cart, pushing a table and closing the door by pushing. From these images, what did you understand about force? From these images, what did you understand about force? Let's see. A push or pull of an object is called force. A push or pull of an object is called force. Okay, let's move on to the next situation. From this, you can see that it is a sponge. What happens to a sponge when it was squeezed? Let's see what are the changes that happen to that sponge. Okay, I will ask you 3 questions. You have to just say the answers. What is the first question? Whether there is change in shape of sponge when the sponge was squeezed. Whether there is change in shape of sponge when the sponge was squeezed. Second question. Whether there is change in size of sponge when the sponge was squeezed. Whether there is change in size of sponge when the sponge was squeezed. The third question is whether there is change in volume of sponge when the sponge was squeezed. Whether there is change in volume of sponge when the sponge was squeezed. Okay, I think you got the answers. Let's see whether your answers are right or wrong. So, here are the answers. First question. Whether there is change in shape of sponge when the sponge was squeezed. The answer is yes. Whether there is change in size of sponge when the sponge was squeezed. The answer is yes. Whether there is change in volume of sponge when the sponge was squeezed. The answer is yes. From this, what did you understand? That is, force is that which changes or tends to change the shape, size and volume of the object. Force is that which changes or tends to change the shape, size and volume of the object. Now, we are moving on to the next session. Observe these images carefully. Okay, let's see. What is the first image? Apply a force on a rolling ball, slowly pushing it in the opposite direction with the leg. Apply a force on a rolling ball, slowly pushing it in the opposite direction with the leg. Did you see the image clearly? Okay, now we are moving on to the next image. What is the next image? Goalie hitting the ball with hand. Goalie hitting the ball with hand. Now, the third case. What is the third case? Batting cricket ball. Batting cricket ball. Now, we are moving on to the next case. What is the next case? Pulling a running cow. Pulling a running cow. Now, the next case and the last and the final case is pushing a wall. Pushing a wall. I hope you have observed the images carefully. Let's see what are the results of this type of force. So, here are the results. Now, we are going on to the first case. Applying force on a rolling ball, slowly pushing it in the opposite direction with the leg. What is the result? That is, changing the object from state of motion into state of rest. Changing the object from state of motion into state of rest. Now, we are moving on to the second case. That is, goalie hitting the ball with hand. What is the result or what is the result of that case? That is, direction of the object in motion changes. Direction of the object in motion changes. Now we are moving on to the third case. What's the third case? That is batting cricket ball. Batting cricket ball. What is the result? The direction of the object in motion changes. The direction of the object in motion changes. Now we are moving on to the fourth case. What is the fourth case? Pulling a running cow. What is pulling a running cow? That is, what is the result is? Changing the object from state of motion into state of rest. Changing the object from state of motion into state of rest. And the last one is pushing a wall. What is the last one? That is pushing a wall. That is, what is the result is? The tendency to make object in motion. The tendency to make object in motion. From this, what did you understand? Yes, force is that which changes or tends to change the direction of motion, the state of rest and state of motion. Force is that which changes or tends to change the direction of motion, the state of rest and state of motion. So what is a force? For a push or pull of an object is called force. Force is that which changes the shape, size, volume of the object, changes the direction of motion, state of rest and state of motion. So you have studied about force. Did you ever think of what is the unit of force? Let's see what is the unit of force. Yes, the unit of force is Newton represented as N. The unit of force is Newton represented as N. How can we explain about the unit of force? That is, an approximate force of 1 Newton must be applied against the force of gravitation to hold an object of mass 0.1 kilogram, that is 100 grams, parallel to the ground in the palm. An approximate force of 1 Newton must be applied against the force of gravitation to hold an object of mass 0.1 kilogram, that is 100 gram, parallel to the ground in the palm. അതായത് ഫോഴ്സ് ഓഫ് ഗ്രാവിറ്റേഷന് എഗെയിൻസ്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട് 1 ന്യൂട്ടൺ അപ്ലൈ ചെയ്യുകയാണ്. എന്തിന്? ഈ ആപ്പിൾ നമ്മുടെ കയ്യിൽ താങ്ങി നിർത്താൻ വേണ്ടി 1 ന്യൂട്ടൺ ഫോഴ്സ് ഓഫ് ഗ്രാവിറ്റേഷന് എഗെയിൻസ്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട് അപ്ലൈ ചെയ്യുവാണെങ്കിൽ അതിനെയാണ് നമ്മൾ എന്ത് പറയുന്നത്? 1 ന്യൂട്ടൺ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. ക്ലിയർ ആയോ? ഓക്കെ. What is the instrument used to measure force? That is spring balance. Spring balance is used to measure what? Force. The spring balance is shown in the slide. Now we are moving on to the details of Sir Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton, in full name Sir Isaac Newton, was born in Woolsthorpe, England on December 25, 1642. He was a great English physicist and mathematician who was the culminating figure of the scientific revolution of the 17th century. The major discoveries of Isaac Newton are: in optics, his discovery of the composition of white light integrated the phenomena of colors into science of light and laid the foundation for modern physical optics. The second one, in mechanics, his 3 laws of motion, the basic principles of modern physics, resulted in the formulation of the law of universal gravitation. Next one is, in mathematics, he was the original discoverer of the infinitesimal calculus. And the last one, Newton's Philosophia Naturalis Principia Mathematica, Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy, 1687 was one of the most important single works in the history of modern science. So students, what we have studied right now? We have studied about force. What is a force? A push or pull of an object is called force. Force resists or tends to change shape, size, volume, direction of motion, state of rest and state of motion. The unit of force is Newton. Spring balance is used to measure force. And you know about what Isaac Newton. So that's all for today. Thank you.